Shearer.
Yes.
I have the pleasure of introducing this film with a dear friend and amazing colleague, and I'm going to tell you about the amazing Marsha Gordon.
Woo!
Marsha Gordon is professor of film studies at North Carolina State University. Is North Carolina in the house by any chance? A recent fellow at the National Humanities Center and a National Endowment for the Humanities Public Scholar. She's the author of numerous books and articles and co-director of several short documentaries. Her most recent books are Becoming the Ex-Wife, The Unconventional Life and Forgotten Writings of Ursula Parrott. Yes!
Woo!
The 5th edition of the Film Studies textbook, Film, Form, and Culture, co-written with Robert Kolker, and Film is Like a Battleground, Sam Fuller's war films. She's currently writing a biography of the pioneering Hollywood director, Dorothy Arzner. Isn't that exciting? I need to introduce The Divorcee, directed by Robert Z. Leonard, starring Norma Shearer, with Chester Morris, Conrad Nagel, and Robert Montgomery. Please welcome my dear friend and amazing scholar, Marsha Gordon.
Yay, Marsha!
Hey, Marsha.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Welcome to your first TCM Classic Film Festival.
Thank you. I am so honored to be here. Thank you all for being here at this early time of day, kicking it off right.
Yes. So let's talk about The Divorcee. This was a very successful film, but where did it come from? What's the background of this film?
Well, it's actually a funny thing to say, but if it were not for a really bad marriage, we would not be watching this film today. So there was a woman named Ursula Parrott, and she had a horrible divorce, and she decided to write about it. And she published a book called Ex-Wife in 1929, and it was a semi-fictional tell-all book. It was kind of like Sex and the City, Jazz Age style, and it became a bestseller and a sensation. And Ursula Parrott earned her first big paycheck in October 1929. An interesting month to get your paycheck, right? Kicks into gear. Too late to have invested in the market, fortunately. And MGM snapped up the rights for $20,000, which is around $350,000 in today's cash. So Ursula was literally in furs during the Depression and that's why we're here today, is because she wrote this book.
Norma Shearer. How did she get this?
Woo!
Woo. Okay, so it's really fun to read the readers' reports that the studio personnel did for reading Ex-Wife when they were pitching buying the property. And so one of the things that they said was that this film needs a good, sexy star in order to sell it. They recommended Lily DeMita or Mary Nolan, but actually the role was offered first to Greta Garbo, who turned it down, I think very smartly. As you're watching the film, try to imagine Greta Garbo.
No.
Would not have gone well. So there was fortunately someone on the lot who really wanted this role, and it was Norma Shearer. So you would think it's very lucky that she happened to be married, of course, to Irving Thalberg, the producer at MGM. But unlucky was that he did not think it was a good role for her. She had been playing kind of more wholesome characters, and this is a sophisticated film. And so Norma, not to be daunted, asked a newly arrived photographer in town named George Harrell, yes, who went on to become one of the great studio photographers, to take some pictures of her, including some really amazing ones of her in a negligee, and she left those photos on her husband's desk, and you know the rest of the story. So yeah, that's how she got the role.
So they're up for the risqueness, right? That's right. But could you talk about why this film, the adaptation, was not called The Ex-Wife? I mean, we love a pre-code moment here at TCM.
Yeah,
what was the transition?
You would think that after MGM spent all this money on a bestseller, that they would want to use the title. And you would be right. Unfortunately, Will Hayes came into the picture.
Will Hayes.
So this is a pre-code Hollywood film, right, pre-1934, but it was still produced at a time of escalating scrutiny of the movies, and so Will Hayes said to MGM, sorry, you can't use the title. I have more bad news for you. You can't use the theme. So they basically just bought a worthless property, and the trades actually reported that they were going to pull production, but of course they weren't going to waste those resources. So they went back in and they said, what can we do about this? Let's call it something a little bit more sophisticated. Let's call it The Divorcee. And let's rework the plot. And so they were allowed to go ahead and make the film, but they were told that they could never use the title ex-wife in any advertising for the film, which they kept their word on, but they always mentioned Ursula Parrott. And everyone knew she had just written this book, and of course every review mentioned it at the time.
This film was a box office success. It was a critical success also. Could you talk about the response to it at the time?
Absolutely. So it's the summer of 1930, right? The country is sliding into the Great Depression, and this was a much needed hit for cash-starved theaters and of course for the studio as well. It cost $341,000 to produce, and it grossed over $1.2 million. There were lines around the block at theaters, and
this morning.
And this morning. Good job, TCM. It was on a bunch of top 10 lists for the year, and while not every critic loved the film, almost every review praised Norma Shearer for her performance. And she's really fantastic in this role, and although she was nominated 5 times for Academy Awards, this is the one that gave her her only Best Actress award, and she was up against some pretty tough competition, including Greta Garbo, who had refused the role.
There's a lot of partying in this film.
There's a lot of partying in this film. And there's a lot of things that happen in this film that would not have happened after 1934. And so, yeah, you get, there will be gasps from the audience. There will be shock. One theater in Chicago.
Pearls will be clutched.
Pearls will be clutched. One theater in Chicago advertised that adults only would be admitted to the screening. All adults out here? Yes. I think we're good. I think we're good.
Before we walk off and start the film, let's talk about what an amazing special experience we are about to have with the print that we're all about to see.
Y'all, this is a big deal. So, the last time a 35mm print of The Divorcee was screened was in 2015 at the American Film Institute in Silver Spring, Maryland. And at the time of that projection, they decided the print was in such bad shape that they needed to pull it from circulation. So Todd Weiner of UCLA Television Archive, give it up for Todd, he is here.
Hey, Todd.
He worked with Warner Brothers and with funding from the Packard Humanities Institute to strike a brand new 35mm print. This is the only available 35mm print in the world that we are aware of, and you are the first audience to get to see it.
Wow.
Well, let's get to The Divorcee, but I want to thank you, Marsha, for setting this up so beautifully. Please welcome